Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the window of her office on New Geneva Station. She watched the stars and tried to stay calm. Her hands shook as she read the message again. The words were simple but terrible. All humans must leave. You have 3 days. The Galactic Confederation had made their choice. After 200 years of human colonies across the galaxy, they wanted humanity gone. The reason was always the same. Humans were too different, too wild, too dangerous. Sarah remembered the first incident on Kepler Prime. Human colonists had refused to follow new rules about population control. They said the rules would kill their sick children. The Confederation called it rebellion. The humans called it protecting their families. Then came the research ban on Tau Ceti. Dr. Elena Vasquez had been studying strange crystal organisms that could bend space. The Confederation said the research was too dangerous. They shut down the entire lab and arrested anyone who protested. The final break came last month. Captain Marcus Torres had rescued miners trapped on an asteroid in Confederation space. The aliens who owned the mining rights said humans had no business helping. They demanded Torres be punished for breaking their property laws. Now the punishment had come, not just for Torres or Elena or the Kepler colonists, for all of humanity. Sarah's communicator buzzed. Director Chen, we have 17 colonies reporting in. They're all getting the same message. How long do we have? Sarah asked. 72 hours. After that, Confederation ships will force any humans still in their territory to leave. Sarah closed her eyes. 17 colonies. 9 million people. Men, women, children who had never seen Earth. Some had been born on colony worlds where their great-grandparents first landed. What about our ships? She asked. The Confederation is providing transport. They say they have enough vessels for everyone. Sarah knew better. She had seen Confederation refugee ships before. Old cargo haulers with broken air recyclers and overloaded engines. Ships meant for moving supplies, not people. Captain Torres appeared on her communication screen. His face was grim. Sarah, I've been looking at the ships they're giving us. These aren't passenger vessels. They're barely spaceworthy. How many people can they carry safely? Sarah asked. Maybe 3 million if we're lucky. We have 9 million to move. Sarah felt sick. Can we use our own ships? The Confederation has blocked all human vessels from launching. They say we might try to fight back or hide somewhere in space. Only their ships are allowed to move. So we have to trust them to save us while they throw us out. That's about right, Torres said. Sarah made the hardest decision of her life. Send the message to all colonies. Emergency evacuation begins now. Take only what you can carry. Families stay together no matter what. The next 3 days were chaos. Sarah moved from station to station, trying to coordinate the impossible. Thousands of families crowded into cargo bays designed for freight containers. Children cried for toys left behind. Old people struggled with the artificial gravity on ships not built for human comfort. On Kepler Prime, the colonists had built beautiful cities with parks and schools and hospitals. Now those cities stood empty. The evacuation ships could not take the medical equipment, or the farming tools, or the libraries full of human knowledge. Dr. Elena Vasquez managed to smuggle some of her research samples onto the transport ship. Small containers of the crystal organisms hidden in her personal bags. She knew the Confederation would destroy all her work once the humans were gone. The worst part was the children. Many had been born on low-gravity worlds. Earth's heavy gravity would be hard for them. Some might not survive the change. But the doctors could not bring the special equipment they needed. There was no room. Captain Torres commanded the largest transport ship. It was designed to carry 500 people. He now had over 1,500 aboard. The air recyclers were failing. The water purifiers could not keep up. People took turns sleeping in the corridors. "How long to Earth?" he asked his navigator. "4 months if we push the engines." "But sir, these ships weren't built for long journeys. We're going to lose people." Quote. Torres nodded. He had known this would happen. The Confederation knew too. They were not just exiling humanity. They were making sure many humans would die on the way home. Sarah traveled on a different ship, trying to keep families together and organize medical care. She watched children get sick from bad air and adults collapse from stress and exhaustion. Every day, more people died. The Confederation had given them just enough ships to make the exile look merciful, but not enough to make it safe. On the final day, as the last human ship left Kepler Prime, Sarah looked back at the colony they were abandoning. Confederation ships were already moving toward the planet. She knew they would strip everything useful and destroy the rest. "Where will we go?" asked a young mother holding her sick baby. "Home," Sarah said. But she wondered if Earth would even want them back. The planet had 4 billion people already. How could it feed 9 million more? Captain Torres sent a message to all the ships in their small fleet. "We're going home, but it won't be easy. Stay strong. Help each other. We'll make it through this." But as he looked at the broken ships and scared people around him, Torres wondered if any of them would survive long enough to see Earth again. The galaxy had rejected them. Now they had to hope their home world would take them back. The first transport ships reached Earth orbit 4 months after leaving the colonies. Captain Torres watched through his ship's windows as the blue planet grew larger. He had been born on Mars and had never seen Earth before. It looked beautiful, but he knew the beauty would not last long. "Sir, Earth Control is asking us to wait," his communications officer reported. "They say the planet isn't ready for this many people." Quote. Torres sighed. Of course they weren't ready. Nobody had expected 9 million refugees to arrive all at once. Earth had been peaceful for decades, focused on its own small problems. Now it faced the biggest crisis in human history. Dr. Sarah Chen managed to get permission for the medical ships to land first. Children and old people were dying every day in the overcrowded transports. Luna City opened its hospitals, but they could only handle a few hundred patients. The rest of the ships were directed to empty areas of Earth where refugee camps could be built quickly. Former parks and wilderness areas were cleared for temporary housing. The camps were ugly, but necessary. Thousands of people lived in basic shelters with shared bathrooms and kitchens. Dr. Elena Vasquez arrived with one of the last ships. She was weak from the journey, but still carried her hidden research samples. At the Refugee Processing Center, she met other scientists who had lost their life's work. 30 years of research, Elena told Dr. James Park, a biologist who had been studying alien plants on Ross 128. Gone. The Confederation will destroy everything we left behind. "At least you saved something," James replied. "I couldn't bring a single sample. All my work on symbiotic agriculture is lost forever." The refugees struggled with life on Earth. People from low-gravity worlds found it hard to walk. Their bones were weak, and many needed medical help just to stand. Children who had grown up breathing carefully controlled air in space colonies got sick from Earth's natural atmosphere. Worse, some refugees carried diseases from alien worlds. Earth's doctors had never seen these illnesses before. They did not know how to treat purple fever from Kepler Prime or the crystal poisoning that affected workers from the Vega mining colonies. Elena volunteered at the medical camps. She used her knowledge of alien biology to help doctors understand the strange diseases. Slowly, treatments were developed, but not fast enough to save everyone. The Earth governments tried their best, but resources were limited. Food supplies ran low. Housing was not enough. Many Earth citizens complained about the burden of caring for so many refugees. Captain Torres was put in charge of maintaining the refugee fleet. Most of the ships that brought them home were falling apart. They had been pushed far beyond their safety limits during the long journey. Earth's shipyards, which usually built small system patrol boats, could not handle the massive repairs needed. We need new parts for the fusion reactors, Torres told the Earth officials. These ships are barely holding together. End quote. We don't have those parts, replied Administrator Walsh. Our shipyards haven't built long-range vessels in 50 years. Everything we know about deep space travel came from the colonies. End quote. I would binning stency. I would binning range from the colonies. I would binning range from the first. Then we'll have to learn again, Torres said. Because some of these people might want to go back to space someday. Walsh looked surprised. After what happened? Why would anyone want to leave Earth again? Walsh looked surprised. If you God. And of it'll. Walsh looked surprised. Torres thought about the families crammed into the refugee camps. Many had been proud colonists with their own homes and jobs. Now they depended on charity just to eat. Because space was their home, he said quietly. Life in the camps was hard. Families who had owned farms on colony worlds now stood in lines for basic food. Engineers who had built cities were assigned to clean bathrooms. Children who had run free under alien suns now played in dusty camps surrounded by fences. But humans adapt. They always do. Elena set up a small laboratory in one of the medical tents. Using equipment borrowed from Earth universities, she began studying the samples she had saved. Other scientists joined her, sharing what knowledge they could remember. Dr. Park started growing Earth vegetables, using techniques he had developed for alien soil. The food was not much, but it helped feed people in his camp. Word spread, and other camps began their own small farms. Captain Torres organized work groups to repair the transport ships. Even if they could not leave Earth's system, the ships could be turned into orbital housing. Luna City was expanded using parts from the most damaged vessels. Sarah Chen became the unofficial leader of the refugee community. She worked with Earth governments to find permanent housing and jobs for the displaced colonists. It was slow work, but progress was made. One day, Sarah received news that changed everything. A group of historians, working in Earth's archives, had found old files about humanity's first contact with the Galactic Confederation. The files had been classified for centuries. But the chaos of the refugee crisis had opened many sealed records. You need to see this, said Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the lead historian. The Confederation didn't just exile us because we were different. They were afraid of us. Sarah looked at the ancient documents. They told a story she had never heard before. When humans first met the Confederation, human technology was advancing faster than anyone expected. Human ships could travel between stars in ways that alien scientists said were impossible. According to these records, Yuki continued, the Confederation has been limiting human development for 300 years. Every time we made a breakthrough, they found reasons to regulate it or ban it. Sarah felt anger building in her chest. You're saying they held us back on purpose? That's exactly what I'm saying. And now that we're gone, they probably think they're safe from human innovation. Sarah looked out at the refugee camps spread across Earth's landscape. Millions of people living in temporary shelters, mourning the homes they had lost. But maybe, she thought, this was not the end of the human story among the stars. Maybe it was just the beginning of a new chapter. Keep researching, she told Yuki. Find out everything you can about what they didn't want us to know. The blue planet that had welcomed them home might soon launch them back to the stars. But next time, humanity would be ready. Dr. Yuki Tanaka spent weeks in the underground archives beneath Geneva. The old files were stored in formats that required special equipment to read. Most had been sealed for so long that dust covered everything. But inside those forgotten records lay secrets that would change everything. I found something incredible, Yuki told Sarah Chen over a secure communication link. The first human faster-than-light drive wasn't based on Confederation technology. We invented our own method. Sarah leaned forward in her chair at the Refugee Coordination Center. What do you mean? In 2087, Dr. Amanda Foster created something called dimensional folding. It lets ships move through folded space instead of normal space. The journey from Earth to Alpha Centauri took 2 weeks instead of 20 years. That's impossible, Sarah said. The Confederation told us their jump drive technology was the only way to travel between stars. That's what they wanted us to believe. Yuki replied. But look at this. She sent Sarah a file containing technical diagrams and test results. Foster's ship could fold space around itself and step through the fold. It was like walking through a door instead of running a long distance. Sarah stared at the information. If this was true, then humanity had been capable of independent space travel for centuries. What happened to this technology? The Confederation classified it as dangerous to galactic stability. They said humans weren't ready for such advanced science. Foster was forced to stop her research and use their jump drive system instead. Meanwhile, in her small laboratory, Dr. Elena Vasquez made her own discovery. The crystal organisms she had smuggled from Tau Ceti were not just alive, they were actively trying to communicate with her equipment. Dr. Park, you need to see this. Elena called to her colleague. James Park came over to her workstation, where she had connected the crystal samples to a basic computer interface. The crystals are responding to electrical signals, Elena explained. When I send a simple mathematical pattern, they send back a more complex version of the same pattern. James watched the screen as numbers flowed back and forth between the computer and the crystal organisms. It's like they're trying to teach you something. That's exactly what I think is happening, Elena said. The Confederation banned my research before I could understand what these organisms really are. But now I think they're some kind of living computers that exist partially outside normal space. Elena worked day and night to understand the crystal's messages. They could manipulate space and time in ways that human science had never imagined. The crystals aren't just alive, Elena told Sarah during one of their regular meetings. They're trying to show us how to use dimensional folding technology. The knowledge Dr. Foster started developing 3 centuries ago. Sarah brought together the best scientific minds among the refugees. Dr. Tanaka shared her historical discoveries, while Elena demonstrated what the crystal organisms could do. Other scientists contributed knowledge they had saved from their destroyed research projects. We're looking at a pattern, said Dr. Rebecca Stone, a physicist from the Mars colonies. Every major human scientific breakthrough was stopped by the Confederation. Dimensional folding, crystal computing, biological space adaptation, terraforming acceleration, all of it was banned. Why? Asked Dr. Park. Because we were advancing too fast, Sarah realized. The Confederation has existed for thousands of years, but their technology hasn't changed much in all that time. Then humans arrive and start inventing new science in decades instead of centuries. Elena pulled up a star chart on her computer. The crystal organisms are showing me something else. There are problems in space that the Confederation can't solve with their old technology. Reality storms that tear holes in space itself. These storms are getting worse. Reality storms? Dr. Stone asked. Breaks in the fabric of space and time, Elena explained. The crystals say these storms happen when space gets damaged by too much regular, faster-than-light travel. The Confederation's jump drives are actually making the problem worse. Sarah understood the implications. So they stopped human research, not just because we were advancing too fast, but because we might have developed solutions to problems they can't handle. Captain Torres joined their secret meetings when he could get away from his ship repair duties. Are you saying we could build our own ships using this folded space technology? More than that, Elena said. The crystals are showing me how to create hybrid technology, biological ships that exist partially outside normal space, vessels that could travel anywhere without causing reality storms. How long would it take to develop this technology? Sarah asked. Dr. Stone ran calculations on her portable computer. With the knowledge we have now, Maybe 5 years for a prototype. But we'd need to do the work in secret. If the Confederation finds out, they'll do more than exile us. Sarah made a decision that would change human history. Then, we work in secret. We take our time and do this right. Elena, continue studying the crystals. Yuki, find every piece of suppressed human technology in those archives. Rebecca, start designing new ships based on dimensional folding principles. What about the refugees? Torres asked. We have 9 million people living in camps. They need hope. 2. We give them purpose, Sarah said. Some of them are the best engineers and scientists humanity has ever produced. We tell them they're not just rebuilding their lives on Earth. They're preparing to return to space as a truly free civilization. Over the following months, the secret project grew. Small groups of refugees worked on different aspects of the technology. Former colony administrators learned to coordinate research across multiple teams. Children who had grown up on alien worlds provided insights that Earthborn humans missed. The crystal organisms continued to share knowledge. Elena learned that they had been waiting for humans to return to their research. The creatures existed across multiple dimensions and had watched the Confederation suppress human development for centuries. They're not just trying to help us, Elena told Sarah. They're trying to save the galaxy. The reality storms are getting worse because the Confederation refuses to change their technology. If someone doesn't develop new solutions soon, entire star systems will be destroyed. Sarah looked at the data Elena had collected. The storms were indeed growing stronger and more frequent. The Confederation's rigid control over galactic technology was not just holding back progress. It was threatening the survival of every world in the galaxy. Then we're not just building ships for ourselves, Sarah said. We're building the technology that could save everyone. Do you think they'll thank us for it? Torres asked. Sarah smiled grimly. Probably not. But that's never stopped humans before. The work continued in hidden laboratories and secret meetings. Humanity had been cast out by the stars, but they were preparing to return with knowledge that could transform the galaxy. The Confederation had tried to limit human potential. Instead, they had given humanity the motivation to exceed every limit. 5 years had passed since the exile. The refugee camps on Earth were mostly empty now. Families had found permanent homes, jobs, and new lives. But in hidden facilities around the solar system, the real work was just beginning. Captain Torres stood in the command center of humanity's first dimensional folding ship. The vessel looked strange, part metal spacecraft, part living crystal. Elena's research had shown them how to grow ships using the crystal organisms as living computers and dimensional anchors. All systems ready for first test, reported Dr. Rebecca Stone from the engineering station. The dimensional field generators are stable. Torres took a deep breath. Begin, fold, sequence. Around the ship, space began to bend. Instead of the violent tear that Confederation jump drives created, dimensional folding was smooth and gentle. Space curved around them like fabric being folded, bringing their destination closer without damaging the universe. Fold complete, Stone announced. We've moved from Earth orbit to the edge of the solar system in 30 seconds. The test was a success, but it was only the beginning. Sarah Chen watched from the secure communication center on Luna. Congratulations, Marcus. How does it feel to be the first human to use independent, faster-than-light travel in 3 centuries? Like we're finally free, Torres replied. The next phase was more dangerous. They needed to know what had happened to their old colonies. Torres volunteered to lead the first reconnaissance mission beyond the Confederation's gravitational barriers around human worlds. The ship folded space again, this time traveling light years instead of astronomical units. They emerged in the Kepler 442 system, where millions of humans had once lived. Torres expected to find empty worlds protected by Confederation guard posts. Instead, they found something incredible. Sir, I'm reading active power signatures from the surface. reported Navigation Officer Lisa Park, daughter of Dr. James Park. The colony cities are still there, and they're occupied. Confederation troops? Torres asked. No, sir. The energy patterns match human technology, but it's different somehow. More advanced. Torres ordered a cloaked approach to the planet. What they saw amazed them. The human cities had not just survived. They had grown. But the buildings looked different now, constructed from materials that seemed to shift between solid matter and crystalline energy. The crystal organisms, Elena said over the communication link from Earth. The colonies we abandoned must have had research samples too. The crystals bonded with our abandoned technology. They landed secretly at night outside New Geneva colony. The city looked familiar but transformed. Buildings grew like living things, their walls made of the same crystal metal hybrid as their ship. Gardens flourished with plants that glowed softly in the darkness. A figure approached their landing site. Torres was surprised to see a human woman, but she looked different. Her skin had a slight crystalline shimmer, and her eyes reflected light like gems. "You're from Earth," she said. It wasn't a question. "We've been waiting for you to come back." Her name was Dr. Maya Singh. She had been a junior researcher when the evacuation happened, but she had hidden in the colony's underground laboratories during the chaos. When the Confederation forces arrived to strip the abandoned cities, they found only empty buildings. "The crystal organisms protected us," Maya explained as she led them through the transformed city. "They created a phase shift that made the colony exist slightly outside normal space. The Confederation's sensors couldn't detect us." Torres was amazed. "How many of you survived?" "About 50,000 across all the colonies. We've been rebuilding using hybrid technology. The crystals taught us how to grow buildings, how to create food from raw elements, how to exist without damaging the fabric of space." Maya showed them innovations that made Earth's secret research look primitive. Ships that could exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Terraforming systems that could reshape entire worlds in months. Communication networks that worked instantly across any distance. "Why didn't you contact Earth?" Torres asked. "We couldn't risk it," Maya replied. "The Confederation still monitors all normal communication channels. We needed to wait until Earth developed dimensional folding technology. Only then could we be sure our messages wouldn't be intercepted." Torres realized the implications. There are hidden human colonies throughout the galaxy. 17 worlds where people like me chose to stay and hide rather than flee. Maya confirmed. "We've been preparing for the day when humanity would return to space as an independent civilization." Over the following weeks, Torres's ship visited each hidden colony. They found thriving communities that had advanced far beyond anything the Confederation thought possible. Each colony had developed different aspects of crystal-enhanced technology. The mining colony on Vega had learned to extract resources from dimensional space itself, making them completely self-sufficient. The research station on Wolf 359 had developed biological computers that could calculate faster than any artificial intelligence. The farming colony on Gliese 667C had created crops that could grow in pure energy instead of soil. But they had also discovered something troubling. Elena's predictions about reality storms had been correct. The hidden colonies reported increasing numbers of spatial tears throughout the galaxy. Entire star systems were becoming unstable. The Confederation's jump drive technology is destroying space itself, Maya explained during a secure conference call. With all 17 hidden colonies, their ships tear holes in reality every time they travel. The holes are getting bigger and harder to repair. Dr. Singh from the Wolf 359 station added more bad news. "We've been monitoring Confederation communications. They know about the reality storms, but their scientists can't figure out how to stop them. Their technology has been the same for so long that they've forgotten how to innovate." Sarah Chen listened to these reports from Earth with growing concern. "How long before the damage becomes irreversible?" "Maybe 10 years, Maya replied. "After that, Space travel might become impossible throughout the galaxy. Whole regions of space could become permanently unstable. Torres understood what this meant. We need to reveal ourselves before it's too late. Not yet, Sarah said. We have one advantage. The Confederation doesn't know we exist. We can prepare properly this time. When we do reveal ourselves, it will be as the saviors of the galaxy, not as refugees begging for acceptance. Elena had been listening quietly to the discussion. Now she spoke up. The crystal organisms have shown me something else. They remember the last time this happened. Millions of years ago, another civilization faced the same choice: evolve their technology or watch the universe tear itself apart. What did they do? Torres asked. They became the crystals, Elena said softly. They gave up physical form and became living guardians of space itself. They've been waiting ever since for another species to develop the wisdom to use their knowledge properly. And they think humans are that species? They think we're the only species brave enough to try, Elena replied. The hidden colonies continued their development while Earth prepared for humanity's return to the galaxy. But this time, they would not return as a minor species seeking permission to exist. They would return as masters of technology that could save or destroy the universe itself. Captain Torres looked out at the stars from the bridge of his impossible ship. Somewhere out there, reality storms were tearing the galaxy apart. The Confederation's ancient empire was crumbling under the weight of its own stagnation. Soon, humanity would step out of the shadows and offer salvation to the very powers that had cast them out. The question was whether the galaxy would be wise enough to accept their help. The alarm signals came from every direction at once. Reality storms were converging on the galactic core, threatening the heart of Confederation space. On their capital world of Nexus Prime, alien leaders watched in horror as their most advanced monitoring stations reported the impossible. The spatial tiers are connecting, announced Science Director Vex 9. A crystalline being whose species had joined the Confederation 5,000 years ago. If they merge at the galactic center, the resulting storm could unravel space-time throughout the entire galaxy. Supreme Chancellor Krath pounded his six-armed form against the council table. How long do we have? 3 standard days at most, Vex 9 replied. Our fleets are evacuating core systems, but there's nowhere to run if the storm spreads. What about our reality stabilizers? Asked another council member. Useless, Vex 9 said grimly. This storm is beyond anything our technology can handle. We need solutions that don't exist in our databases. On Earth, Sarah Chen received the same information from the hidden colony's monitoring networks. The moment humanity had been preparing for had arrived sooner than expected. The Confederation is requesting emergency aid from every member species, reported Dr. Yuki Tanaka from her intelligence center. But none of them have technology that can stop a reality storm of this magnitude. Sarah made the call to Captain Torres, who was commanding the hidden human fleet from his flagship at the edge of the galaxy. Marcus, it's time. 1. Are you sure? Torres asked. The galaxy is about to tear itself apart, Sarah replied. We can't stay hidden while billions of beings die. Besides, this is our chance to return on our own terms. Torres nodded and opened a fleet-wide communication channel. All ships, this is Admiral Torres. Operation Homecoming begins now. Across the galaxy, human vessels began emerging from dimensional fold space. Not just Torres's Earth fleet, but ships from all 17 hidden colonies. Vessels that existed partially outside normal space, powered by crystal organisms that had been thought extinct by the Confederation for millions of years. The humans appeared first at the edges of reality storms throughout the galaxy. Their ships were strange and beautiful. Part metal technology, part living crystal, existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously. They moved through space without creating the violent tears that Confederation ships caused. Dr. Elena Vasquez, now elderly but kept alive by crystal symbiosis, stood on the bridge of the research vessel, New Hope. Around them, Smaller human ships deployed reality anchors, devices that used crystal technology to stabilize space-time itself. Anchors in position, reported Dr. Maya Singh from the Kepler colony ship. Beginning dimensional repair sequence. The reality storms that had been tearing through space for months suddenly stopped growing. The tears in space-time began to seal themselves as human technology worked to repair the damage that centuries of Confederation jump drives had caused. On Nexus Prime, emergency alarms stopped ringing. Science Director Vex 9 stared at his instruments in disbelief. The storms are stabilizing. Someone is repairing the spatial tears. Who? Demanded Chancellor Krath. No Confederation member has this technology. Before Vex 9 could answer, their communication system activated. A human face appeared on the main screen, an elderly woman with kind but determined eyes. Greetings to the Galactic Confederation, said Dr. Sarah Chen. My name is Sarah Chen, speaking on behalf of humanity. The council chamber fell silent. Humans had been exiled 13 years ago. They were supposed to be contained to their primitive home system, struggling to survive as refugees. That's impossible, Krath said. Humans lack the technology for galactic communication. We've learned a lot since you cast us out, Sarah replied. Right now, human ships are stabilizing reality storms throughout the galaxy. We're preventing the destruction of space-time itself. Chancellor Krath's face showed confusion and anger. This is some kind of trick. Humans are barely capable of interstellar travel. Sarah smiled sadly. That's what you told us. That's what you made us believe for 3 centuries. But the truth is that you held us back because you were afraid of what we might become. Dr. Elena appeared on screen beside Sarah. She held up one of the crystal organisms that had been at the center of her research. You remember these, don't you? The beings you declared too dangerous for study. They've been waiting millions of years for a species brave enough to learn from them. Those organisms are extinct, Vex 9 said. But his voice was uncertain. No, Elena replied. They became part of us. They're teaching us how to heal the galaxy. Admiral Torres's flagship appeared in orbit around Nexus Prime, having folded space to arrive instantly. The sight of the impossible vessel, clearly beyond any Confederation technology, sent shockwaves through the capital. You have a choice, Sarah continued. You can work with us to repair the damage your stagnant technology has caused, or you can watch your civilization collapse when the next wave of reality storms arrives. What do you want? Chancellor Krath asked. An end to technological restrictions, Sarah said firmly. An end to the forced stagnation that has been slowly killing the galaxy. Every species should be free to develop their potential without artificial limits. Science Director Vex 9 studied the data coming from human ships throughout the galaxy. The reality storms were indeed being neutralized by technology far beyond anything the Confederation possessed. How do we know you won't use this power against us? Vex 9 asked. Because, said Dr. Maya Singh, joining the communication from her hidden colony ship, we're already using it to save you. The conversation continued for hours, as human representatives explained how the Confederation's fear of change had nearly destroyed the galaxy. They showed how dimensional folding technology could replace destructive jump drives. They demonstrated how crystal organisms could create sustainable civilizations that worked with space-time instead of damaging it. But the most important moment came when Elena shared the crystal organism's ancient memory. On screen, the Council saw images of the galaxy as it had been millions of years ago, vibrant and alive, filled with beings who had learned to work in harmony with the universe itself. This is what we could all become, Elena said. Not just humans, but every species in the galaxy. The crystals aren't just teachers. They're partners who want to help all intelligent life reach its true potential. Chancellor Krath looked around the council chamber at representatives from hundreds of worlds, the same worlds that human technology had just saved from destruction. What are your terms? He asked finally. "The Galactic Liberation Accords," Sarah replied, transmitting a document that human diplomats had been preparing for years. An end to technological restrictions, freedom for all species to explore and innovate, and a new commitment to healing the galaxy instead of exploiting it. The debate lasted 3 days. Some council members argued for rejecting human demands and attempting to force humanity back into exile. But the reality storms had returned twice during the negotiations, and each time only human intervention had prevented disaster. In the end, the vote was unanimous. Not because the Confederation members trusted humanity, but because they had no choice. The alternative was watching their civilization end in cosmic fire. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood on the observation deck of her ship as the signing ceremony concluded. Around her, crystal organisms glowed softly, sharing their satisfaction at finally finding a species willing to accept their gift. Captain Torres joined her at the window. "Think they'll keep their word?" "Some will," Elena replied. "Others will try to steal our technology and use it for control. But the crystal organisms won't let that happen. They'll only share their knowledge with beings who truly want to help the galaxy grow." "And us?" Torres asked. "What happens to humanity now?" Elena smiled as she watched human ships spreading throughout the galaxy. "Not as conquerors, but as healers and teachers. Now we become what we were always meant to be, gardeners of the stars." Earth appeared on the communication screen as Sarah Chen addressed the galaxy from humanity's homeworld. The planet was blue and beautiful, surrounded by the orbital habitats, where millions of former refugees had learned to dream of space again. "The stars cast us out," Sarah said, "but Earth taught us to reach higher. Today, we don't just return to the galaxy. We invite the galaxy to join us in reaching for something better." Behind her, through the windows of her office, children played in gardens that grew in artificial gravity. Some of those children had been born on alien worlds. Others had never left Earth's surface. But all of them would grow up in a galaxy where the only limits were those they chose to accept. The age of enforced stagnation was over. The age of unlimited possibility had begun.